Hey, before we start, if you can look down below the video and see the hype button, click it once, twice, maybe 3 times. It's a way of sort of promoting this video to people who would really be interested. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Everyone, thank you so much for being here today. I see a lot of familiar faces. Anne, welcome back. We've missed you the last couple weeks, and new face. Welcome, Sharon. Today's topic is going to be confusion techniques. Uh, there are many of them. Uh, sorry. David will have some great examples. At any point, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We will have pauses in between, specifically for questions. And there's nothing more left to do than to introduce my good friend, David Barron.
Thank you so very much, Joe. I appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to talk about confusion patterns today, and I want you. Oh, and let me turn over the hosting to you, Joe. There you go.
Thank you
That's
so
right,
much.
out of my hands.
And
Okay.
David, while we're on it, I
Yes,
don't believe the PDF is showing in the chat
you're
yet.
right. I send it. So there we go. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about confusion patterns, and I want you to think of what happens. You can go on YouTube and see people putting, or think of what it was like when you started to slip and fall. And that could have been a rose bush on one side of you and a pot of boiling water on the other. You were reaching for anything to try and keep yourself steady, even though it could have been something you were doing everything you could to prevent yourself from falling. So that's sort of what a confusion pattern helps you do. A confusion pattern is a sentence that places the listener in a brief amount of confusion, and it's very brief, after which you can offer a good direction or suggestion. So when the result of that is whenever the mind is confused, it desperately searches for something to make sense. So if you can create confusion and then provide a clear, logical statement, they cling to it like a lifeline. So how this is done, I mean, I like to use something like this in a hypnosis induction, and you can find some just work any sort of confusing statement in the confusion induction. One of the things I like to do is once they close their eyes and I say, I want you to think back to yesterday and remember what it was like that tomorrow you'd be in hypnosis right now. Take a deep breath, inhale very deeply, get very comfortable, and notice just hanging on to that, it moves you so many different directions through time. It's hard to know what to do. But as soon as I say, take a deep breath, it's like, okay, I know what to do now. So anytime you create a confusion pattern, and it doesn't have to be long or complicated, you can follow it up with an instruction. Now, anyone who wants to demonstrate a confusion pattern here, I ask you to do one thing. I know it's very likely you all have your favorite confusion pattern. Okay. I want to avoid anything that you already know. So the whole idea here is to make this a skill and to make it so that you can create one up on your mind. I'll give you a couple different ways on how to do that. So that one that I just used, I want you to remember back to yesterday when you needed to be you knew that tomorrow you'd be in a trance right now. What it does, it scrambles the whole awareness of what time. If you try and analyze that sentence, you can ask yourself, what time am I speaking about? Am I speaking about remembering back to yesterday, tomorrow? And if you actually follow along, you have to jump back and forth through time to figure out where you are, and it's very disorienting. Um, I'm going to give you a couple of confusion patterns that were given to me by my friend Jeff Stevens, my mentor. Uh, he said he did this to me in a seminar that I was sort of helping him with. And the minute he said it, I could feel my mind just sort of clank up. It's like, and I realized what was going on. He said, "I wonder what things will be like when we were there." And notice if it had any response on you. The other thing he said was, "So what have you guys been doing for the next 2 hours?" Anytime you do that, it makes it very confusing. So there's a quick formula that I have. There's two different formulas I have to create a confusion pattern. The one of the simpler ones really is to find two sentences, and you take the first half of one sentence and you combine it with the second half of another sentence, so that each part of the sentence makes complete sense, but together they don't make any sense at all. So if you find you can go to a book and open it up, I would recommend you probably get a fiction book because they have the better sentences, and just divide them, find two sentences and see where you can space it up. Now the other, so I'm gonna give you a few examples, and I want you to grab a paper and pen, think of your own. So what will it be like when the memories you remembered you had lost? That's one. How many times did I tell you to do that once? Do you remember how we will be after we've been there? Uh, this is the fate of many people, something like it. Yesterday is a good time to begin now. And that's a good one you could always work into a hypnosis process. And uh, the key of doing this is to not try and be cool, okay? To say it just as though it's there, because the last thing someone wants to do is feel like they've been tricked. So you have to deliver it with sincerity and congruence all the way through. Uh, and the other way of creating a confusion pattern is to say something that is completely out of context. The whole sentence can make sense, but it's completely beyond any sort of understanding in the context that it's spoken. So if anyone is familiar with Darren Brown had this one thing where he went around taking pieces of simple cut paper and passing them off as actual bills. And what he would do is, as he was getting thing, he'd say, "You know, the wall outside my house, it isn't 4 feet tall." And he'd hand us over and say, "Now you can just take it, just take it." And in many of the cases, there were some he didn't, but in many of the cases, you'd see people taking this as if it's real money. And another one that comes to mind is, again, you just work it into a sentence. Well, no one would believe a chariot had 3 wheels. Now just sit back and consider all the things we've been talking about this morning. So that's the direction, that's the instruction that follows. I've given you some instruction now, and I'm happy to critique and encourage. So again, I want you to choose your favorite ones because most of us have one. Let's bring up some things that are on the fly. Who wants to give it a try? And to qualify it, immediately follow it up with a very direct suggestion. Everyone's clock, I can hear the mechanics of your brain ticking away.
Transderivational search.
It's a bit like a joke that was popular when I was at school that just reminded me of when you were talking about that. And it goes from, like, if I remember right, I'm going back quite a few decades, let alone years. And it says, like, this man walks into a shop and he says, "Can I have a loaf of bread?" And the man behind the counter says, "But sir, this is a butcher's." And the man says, "That's okay, my bike's outside." Total sentence that just doesn't make any sense. And when I heard you talk about it, I thought, oh, why didn't I think of that joke just back then? And I suppose you could, they say, so the man in the shop says, "Sorry, don't sell bread," and the other man says, "No, it's okay, my bike's outside," which is a good idea.
Uh-huh.
Then you could put a direct suggestion of that you will enjoy cycling in the country, sort of thing, or something similar to that, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
Alex, you raised your hand. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Graham.
Okay. Well, I've decided that, I was just looking at one that I've got here. I've got it on one of my blog posts, and it actually snared somebody. She was expecting the usual trance induction. She was not expecting poetry. So, I'm Welsh. Come on. Poetry and song are part of everything I do. So, and as you let further go, beside the relaxation, while you are relaxing, your attention is fixed, flowing. Before you know it, your mind is flowing away, carried away by the peace, flowing fixed, moving, stillness, relaxed. And who are you when you let go, holding on, gone, still here, float away, not moved, still fixed on that movement, lower, like who you are resting in a warm bath, scented water, candlelight, soft music, chilled ice water, dry as a bone, fading into blackness.
That's a lot. I like that one. Who are you when you let go? That stuck in my mind.
That was the suggestion part. The rest of it was just the confusion, the
Yeah,
expectation of a bath and then chilled water and then the candlelight and fading into blackness and then the rest of it. I did the snap of the fingers, but it goes on. But
that's
usually
beautiful.
I have them by that bit when they let go.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, that's
And everyone
excellent.
else is back in the room.
Yeah, all the way back.
Just checking.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Alex.
I want to run something by you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I watched a couple of your YouTube videos when you would um, get a call from a telemarketer scammer and you were
yes,
trying to talk them out of the job.
yeah.
Yeah, so when I'm at work, sometimes I would get those calls because I work in a call center. And so I tried to confuse them like you did, you know. So like when they would call in, they would say, "Is this John or something?" And I'll say, "Who am I not speaking to right now?"
Yeah,
Something like that. And then they'll say, "This is so and so," you know, in their accent. And then I'll say, "Okay, did you walk to work today or did you bring your lunch?"
totally out
Just
of
to,
context. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally out of context, right? You know, and then if I'll let them talk a little bit. And then I'll say, "Well, what is it that you're not thinking about right now?"
that's a classic. I love it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I would,
I've done that on occasion. Have you noticed that once you say that, there's a long sort of pause, and some of them it's like they have a pattern, and you just broke it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I use, various confusion patterns and just try to keep them on the phone as long as I can. I haven't been able to do like you did and talk them out of their job and have them walk away, but
Yeah, that
I think
was
I want
that
to
was
steal some
fun.
of those, Tyrone.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Um, anyone else? Now let's point out a couple of contexts where this is very useful for. This is obviously very good, yeah, and when doing hypnosis, and most of us have some sort of skill in doing that. It works incredibly well just conversationally too. I've at least had some people pause. they never completely confirmed it. They didn't follow my exact instructions, but it confused them enough. Like I'd go to a cashier and I would say something to the effect of, um, it's sort of like what you said. What was it that we're just about to stop doing? I've already paid you. And they would sort of dash around and look at me confused. and and then they'd realize, no, I didn't get paid. So it never worked perfectly, but it created a moment of hesitation in them. And I had a client do that for me, do that on me, telling me, you're going to give me this free. And I didn't know how. I froze completely as I worked with him. And I thought, okay, now, yeah, that's confusing. That's not going to work today. And so I had to back up and sort of start over. But if you say it very congruently, and if you follow up with a very direct instruction, uh, they won't even notice what you just said because they want that one thing to hold on to. Okay.
Well, David,
All
one
right.
of this
Yes.
is not a new pattern. This is just well, deals with utilization. I should not be surprised, but I went to the movies with a friend of mine, and I paid with cash, which that's become a rare thing nowadays. And it was let's just say it was $32. Uh, and I gave them I had two 20s and two ones. So I gave 42 so I wouldn't have more ones, I'd get the 10 back. That put them in a state of confusion because they were already punching in. They saw the two 20s and they're waiting for the machine to tell them because nowadays no one can do basic math. But that right there was a confusion technique. And I was talking with my friend. It's like I could have anchored something on him at that point because he was weak.
Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah. And that's a classic on that some people do is once they create a state of confusion, they just say, give me $10 back change. It's like, okay, they do it. So yeah, that's entirely possible. All right.
And the expectation, another one, which don't share it with anyone, but rather than installing anchors, if you touch someone and go, "Do you feel this?" Wait until they start to nod. As soon as they start to nod, so it's, "Do you feel this?" is a good time for us starting to work together now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just going along, and they go with it because it's not within their expected realm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I want to do is thank you guys for participating. Alex, that was an awesome poem. What I want you to do is go out, do two things. I want you to make your own list of confusion patterns. Also decide what you want to follow it up with, because if you just say that, they're going to look at you stupid for a moment, but you want to give them something immediately to follow up on, which is get comfortable. That's a good suggestion. Or feel good, sit down over here. That's another thing to say. And notice how they respond. And of course, you can't deliver it like you're trying to be cool. You just have to deliver it like these are words coming out of your mouth, just like every other word that comes out. Notice the response. And of course, if you have a hypnosis script, work that into your scripts. You'll find it works incredibly well, just like Alex's one did so well. Any final questions, comments, observations, anything else that anyone has to say?
Yeah, just a quick one, if I may, David.
Yes.
When you work the confusion pattern in as part of the, if you're doing it as part of a therapeutic process, would you use it, as you said, and then give them the suggestion that you want them to take on board? Because obviously, with the idea of putting them into a nice, relaxing induction, is to get them to like single point of focus. I'm thinking, like, if all of a sudden you introduce a bit of confusion, would that then maybe ruin the chances of the suggestions taking effect?
So let me try and understand what you're asking. Is the confusion going to ruin the suggestion?
Yeah, because they broke their because yeah, the way they always say is like, no, you're in a highly focused but very relaxed state, and then all of a sudden, while they're thinking of this one thing, you throw the confusion in, but it then sort of like break them out of that state of focus on the
It
one thing, or
it shouldn't do that if you're first of all congruent,
Mhm.
and if you follow it up with a very solid instruction.
Mhm.
You can do this in an induction. You can also do it later in the actual when you're giving them the hypnotic instructions as to what to do. Okay, it
Mhm.
should. Uh, they're not going to come out of trance and saying you were talking funny to me. They won't even remember it because it was what confusion when you provide that solution. It actually creates amnesia for the BS you were just saying in that confusion statement. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because it's the thing, like they'll sort of sit up and look at you, as I always say, like, like a dog being shown a card trick, as if to say, what?
Well, that's why you have to do it
Mm.
fast. You have to do it very congruently. You can't wait for them to react. You give them something immediate they'll hold on to. Okay.
Yeah, I can see the value. I suppose one thought occurred to us is, as you're taking them through the deep, and they're like, you don't have to think about anything. You can relax. You can hurry up and take your time in relaxing, sort of thing. Just to go, oh yeah, or so they have that bit of confusion. To go, you know what? I'm just not going to bother trying to overthink this.
Right. As you're
Mm.
doing an induction, you could say
Mhm.
letting the muscles of your body relax, balloons float up in the air, solid things fall to the ground. Just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And so what it does, it creates a distraction away. It
Mhm.
creates an awareness of balloons and then it occupies too much of the mind. Then you give them that one thing very solid.
Mm.
Thanks, Graham. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to try and work that in, I think, because
Yeah.
that's something that they didn't tell us about when I was doing my training courses and all that sort of thing. They didn't do anything on confusion patterns and things like that. It was all mainly
Yeah.
focused on getting them relaxed, giving them suggestions, letting them enjoy the feelings and sensations of it, let them practice it for themselves and in the
Mm-hmm.
hypnosis induction, and then bring them back out again. So I think I'll have a go at
Yeah.
working that in, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep in mind when they're in hypnosis and their focus is like this, they mostly come back with feelings and some mild experiences, but they're not going to be able to isolate every
Mm.
word you said. And if you did a great job, all they're going to have is a great experience and wonderful feelings. So, okay.
David, just on the final point, could you just mention the theories on how the mind will fill in a lot from the Ericksonian side with the example with Mondi? I can't remember the guy's name, but how Erickson said to him, "Look at how Mondi's face as you just go into trance." There was nothing said there, and it was confusing, but it
As I remember, he was trying to hypnotize one person while actually putting the other person into trance at the same time. So
yes.
he was addressing Mondi while uh, working with this other person. And yeah, if you watch that video, it's really weird. As far as this, again, I don't know what the original question is and how I can talk about it.
Oh,
But
it's how the mind will fill in things.
oh yeah,
Like if I were to say, Alex, as I look at my watch, how easy it is for you to go into a deep trance. That's
right.
punctuational ambiguity, but the mind's filling it in, and I found that while the mind is filling it in, especially, which now's a chance to plug the embedded commands tape that you have, that's the time to do it.
Well, yeah. Again, think of the confusion as that experience you have when you follow, when you notice you're falling. You're going to reach for anything, and so the filling in by giving this thing as a lifeline, as something to hold on, it keeps them from experiencing confusion. And confusion is generally uncomfortable. We don't like being confused unless you honestly, actively it's a good idea. I encourage you to practice cognitive dissonance, have two opposing thoughts at one time. It's a good exercise, but as a general rule, confusing is uncomfortable for almost all of us. Okay, so you have your work cut out for you, and when we get back together next week this time, I've given you each a document. The document is about how to integrate and separate multiple personalities, and it's written by the late Clark Klein, I believe is his name. And he was a hypnotherapist, and he worked with a lot of people, and he developed this model. And he actually had some experiences in his life where he got completely disassociated. He was in the war and went through Iwo Jima, played a part in that battle as a sailor, and he found himself wandering the streets, not knowing what he was doing or where he was at or why he was there. So he got completely disassociated, and it started him on his journey to understand how the mind works. And to all of my experience, he was a very good hypnotist and a really sincere and loving guy, from what I can tell about him. I haven't found his obituary, but his last post on Facebook was in March of 2011. And he worked to help a lot of people. So we'll be covering that and next week. And any final questions? Okay. If you would.
I've got a,
Yes,
yeah.
Anne.
Okay. Although I'm trained in hypnosis, my main occupation is that I'm a practitioner of the Feldenkrais method of movement education.
Mhm.
We use confusion a lot in that system because a lot of it, well, just virtually all the time, we're working with people who have very deep-seated movement patterns that underlie everything they do. And a really effective way of getting people out of those is to do various things that bring on a confusion in their movement. So the brain just starts going, the old way isn't working. I have to figure out something new. And it's very effective. And at one of our conferences, we had a contest to see who could come up with the best bumper sticker slogan for a paradox in the method. And the winning one was, if you're not confused, you're not getting it.
Okay. I'm going to use that one. That's great. That was very good. And I have some familiarity with Feldenkrais method, and it's really fascinating. So I appreciate the work you're doing. And thanks for helping people with that. Thank you, Anne. All right. Well, we're set for next week. You know what your job is. Please read that. I'd like you. I'll talk about it, but you have the resource there as well, so we can make a discussion out of this. All right. Because you're here, you're not somewhere else. That's a confusion. And I want to thank you for making that sacrifice of not being that other place and being here instead. So, Joe, I'm going to let you sign off. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. I thank you for your participation by showing up. It makes it what it is. Anyone who has any questions, please feel free to email them to David in between, and we look forward to seeing you, and have a wonderful weekend.